Welcome to the Elite Athlete Podcast. I am Dr. Nicole Tatro, and I'm here to help you unleash your peak performance and dominate your sport with fierce confidence and unstoppable energy. Whether you're a high-level athlete, a dedicated parent, a coach, or an agent, this podcast is for you. Get ready for ultimate strategies, expert insights, and cutting-edge tips that will take your game to the next level. We'll also cover personalized blood work analysis to provide unique insights that can transform your performance. We'll explore personalized health, optimized nutrition, and powerful recovery techniques. Whether you're on the ice, the field, or in the gym, together, we'll unlock your true potential and make your athletic dreams a reality. Let's do this, because greatness is within you, and it's time to unleash it. Welcome back to the Elite Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Tatro, and today I'm super excited. This is going to be so much fun because I have with me today April Winter. She is a certified athletic trainer for over 2 decades now, and she's been at the secondary boarding school level for 17 years. Not that we want to throw around dates, right, April? Because I feel the same with mine. I'm like, when we start talking decades. She's
Yep.
a doctoral candidate at A.T. Still University, Masters of Art in Sports Science, and we're thinking it's pedagogy, right? Does that sound right?
Sounds good.
At Gardner-Webb University. She is her Bachelor's of Science in Sports Medicine and Athletic Training from Merrimack College, and a graduate certificate in rehabilitation from A.T. Still University, and tons of other certifications and trainings like we all do. But without further ado, I think I'll let April, if there's anything I missed, April, did I miss anything for your awesome resume?
No, that's about it. I spent a couple of years at a Gardner-Webb working as an athletic trainer, so they're kind of mid-major D1, and I spent a year working at a Division III college in Mass, and then decided that high school athletes was the place to be, and I've been there since.
Oh, I'm so excited because you know what I've been doing. I've kind of switched my career gears a little bit because of my athletes. Speaking of which, that's how we met. And we actually met in an unfortunate situation because my oldest had a really rare, weird hockey injury. So we had our first interaction via email. That was not fun. But we
Right.
got through it, and he's super strong. So, and he's doing well from that injury. We watch it every once in a while, but that's how we met. So small
Yes.
world, really. But we've been
Very small world.
connected ever since. Like, I feel a connection, obviously, with our like-mindedness. But that's what I wanna talk about today. I wanted to ask you about these high-level athletes because you work in the secondary boarding school situation. So not to I mean, we're not putting public school down in any way, shape, or form, but I do feel like it brings about a different situation when we're talking about high-level athletes. You basically almost live with them. Like, we send them to you, and you take care of them on top of the actual sport. So you're not just seeing them for the game or the practice. Like, you're seeing them in their whole daily routine. So I just thought we would have an awesome conversation about high-level athletes and what you see, and maybe at some point we can talk about what you feel they need the most. I just thought we could have that kind of conversation if that's cool with you.
That's absolutely. I mean, boarding school is a secondary boarding school is a great environment because you turn around and you do have these high level elite athletes, but you also have kids that are playing a sport for the first time just to meet their athletic requirement, and then you have everywhere in between.
True.
So for us, we really have to adjust on the fly as to who we're working with and how we're working with them. And you're right. I mean, parents are sending us their most precious commodity and their child, and it's part of our job to make sure that um, we're taking care of kind of every aspect of it. And we always call it circling the wagons. And it's just not just the athletic trainers, but we have counselors, we have advisors, we have academic advisors, we have grade deans, we have teachers and dorm parents, and you have all these resources for these kids and all these eyes that are on them. And they tend to attach to a couple people really
Mhm.
closely. Some kids one, some kids multiple, and they really do become family. You know when they're having a good day, you know when they're having a bad day. You know when they walk in and they just need a day off from practice. They don't even have to say anything to you, and you just look at them and you're like,
Yeah,
that
right.
this kid had a rough day academically, or something's going on at home, or they broke up with, their boyfriend or girlfriend, or
Right.
and they just need they need a mental health day, and guiding them through advocating that with their coaches, and not having to like fake an injury to say, I can't practice today because of. It's
Wow.
more advocating for, okay, let's talk to coach. Let's let him know that you're having a rough day. Let's let him say like you need a day off, or maybe you need a partial whatnot. So I think for us, it's the whole athlete. It's making sure that the parents are communicated with appropriately to make sure that, hey, listen, little Johnny, we haven't been seeing him, his usual self. Is something going on at home, or um, has lost a little bit of weight, or just doesn't seem to be doing what they need to do. Our health center is great about letting us know when um, kids are struggling, and they'll say like, "Hey, so and so is not doing great, not taking meds, not seems to have lost weight, seems to have gained weight, seems to not be eating well." So that we can kind of put more eyes on them and figure out like what's going on, like why are they doing that? How do we fix that? How can we help them? Um, and working with the coaches and strength and conditioning, and just trying to make sure that these kids are healthy away from home, you know?
That's amazing. Obviously, I have a couple of different roles here, be being the athletic health coach, but also the mom. Like it's very emotional to hear you say that. When we sent our oldest, when you met him, we'd already done it a couple of years in the junior boarding school situation. So we had, it doesn't mean there aren't still tears and sadness. And of course we miss him, but we had to make that family decision. Like, it's a huge decision because, you have to outweigh their dreams. And for our family, it was the academic piece, but especially the athletic piece. As you know, like they have, at least the boys have huge athletic dreams for hockey. They play all kinds of different sports, but hockey has been their avenue. And basically, full transparency, that's how we were introduced to prep school, as well as how they got themselves there, was because they were decent athletes and decent kids. But it's so nice to hear that, even though I knew that, and it's after the fact for my big one. Um, it's nice to hear that because that's what I worry about as a health professional is, are they getting what they need? And, especially my oldest, there's hopefully I'm going to have him on my podcast. We'll try to make him come out here and do this with me. But he is super,
Absolutely.
super driven. But maybe you and I can talk about this a little bit is, you know, there's some pros and cons to that.
Correct.
Because the go you just said they need the rest. Like, you might have to some of them might be faking an injury, but what about those kids that push through the injury that
So
shouldn't?
we have so many times we have to hold some kids back, and
Absolutely.
they argue, there's tears, there's, I can't, I'm gonna disappoint mom or dad
Yeah.
or coach, or,
Or getting in
so
that starting lineup, right? I mean,
yeah,
or getting up on the first 3 lines in hockey, like, that I mean, it's brutal, though. So,
there's
there
a
is
lot
a
of it.
fine line, between, and I bet that's put you in a spot, like, that's a tough spot.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of balance because you have, the kids with the acute injuries, that kind of the ankle sprain or the AC shoulder, separation, the ones that aren't going to be a long-term rehab, but short term, you have to get them to focus and say, okay, listen, these are the treatments that you need to do. These are the exercises that we need to do. And these are the modifications to your sport. Like, these are the modifications that we
Yeah.
need to do for practice to allow. And maybe today is a rehab, treatment, ride the bike day. And then tomorrow is we tape and you kick the soccer ball around, but you're not fully involved in practice. Or um, it's a non-contact skating day, so maybe you're not out with your team because it's so, it's 100% all the time. Maybe we take you out at a different point where there's open ice and coach works with you individually or we work with you. So it's adjusting those things. And you run into it with the rehab kids too. We had, I would say we probably had about 10 to 12 post-op rehabs this year in total. And really keeping those kids mentally strong was a it was up more here than in the physically strong was here because
Yeah.
mentally they're off. They're not with their team. They're not with their friends. They're missing things. So being able to keep them with us and say, okay, well, your team has a meeting at this time, go to your meeting and then come back. Um, and them getting frustrated saying, well, I'm sore today, but I'm gonna work through it. No, you're not. Like it's a
Yeah.
6-month rehab, it's a 9-month rehab. Missing one day is not going to change. It doesn't mean that you're going to add a day on the other end or add a week on the other end. So getting them to understand that the rest is just as important when you're post-op, when you have an acute injury, that we're modifying things.
Yeah.
Maybe you
I mean,
sit and do the listing in the weight room, right?
exactly.
You're still going to power source with your team, right? You're still going to lift with your team, but maybe you're sitting and they're standing to do it all. You're still
Yeah.
with them. You're still doing everything. Coach sees you in there, but you're off that injured limb. That's and just getting them to understand those things is hard because they think, well, coach is going to think I'm sitting down. Well, no,
Mhm.
coach is going to look and say, oh, they have a busted ankle, but look, they're still in here. They're still doing the lifts. They want it. And then those days that no, listen, this kid was strong enough to come to me and say, hey, listen, my ankle's really hurting today or mental health day, that athlete was strong enough to come in and admit that they needed that, or the athletic trainers are going,
Yep.
get over here.
Like you
And
have
then
no
they're mad
choice.
at us, which is fine. I would rather the kids be mad at us than mad at a coach for a coach to sit them. Because when a coach sits them, their mindset is completely different. Their mindset is coach is mad at me, coach doesn't
Exactly.
want me in there, those types of thing where it's coach saw the same things that we were seeing. So coach says today at practice, you know what? You're going to have an off day today. And they're like, well, why? Why coach? Why? And they get so wrapped up in the coach is mad. They're disappointed. They're going to sit me during a game. They're going to do this. Whereas coach is actually turning around saying, no, I need you. And because I need you, I'm doing this for you. They can't see that a lot of times. So when it comes from us, their their mindset's different. They're like, okay, the athletic trainer said that I couldn't do this. Okay. All right, this is okay. And then coach comes in and says, hey, listen, athletic trainer said that, ankle's a little swollen today or knee's not feeling great today. So they're gonna have you do X, Y, and Z instead of being on the ice or on the field or on the court. Um, I really need you to be watching at this point in practice so that you can see whatever plays we're running. But otherwise, I need you working with the athletic trainers. And it just does a 180 for those kids.
The
It's
mind
amazing.
the mind is so important in people that are involved in sports, coaches, athletic trainers, everyone, all of us, right? We have to remember that. Many of us with the healthcare background, obviously, it's been in the forefront, right? Like it's starting to
Yep.
really be the mind body connection. Like it's huge, right? A lot of the programs are doing yoga and meditation, like
Yep.
big, strong hockey players, football players, they're doing those things, right? But it's still, I feel like we still have to come around. So, not that I didn't expect we were going to go this route, but I wonder, not to put you on the spot, but if you were, so some of my listeners, April, are high level athletes, but probably their parents. I'm thinking some coaches and maybe even the agents or advisors. So if there are coaches out there that aren't at like the prep school level or they're hoping to get higher level, wherever they're at, would you give them a few pieces of advice on how they should approach something like this, like the injuries, the recovery. But what about especially so my son had a couple of big injuries, right? Like
Yep.
stopping, like I'm on crutches for a little while injuries, broken finger, couldn't go to
Yeah.
playoff. Those are pretty obvious. You have to sit out injuries, both by the coach, the athlete, the trainer, everybody, right? But what about those, like, they're a little fatigued, they're just not quite right, we're afraid that they're too tired for an injury. What kind of advice could we give coaches all around, any of our listeners, on how we can handle something like this? And they still need to be the authority because all coaches are human and they have their own personalities, their own way of going about it. There's some that are a little bit more into the friendships of the team and then some are more authoritative, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm
Yep.
struggling for the words to look for. And I say that with all due respect because I coach. I have not gotten up to the prep school level, but I've coached everywhere from T-ball to high school softball and field hockey. So I've seen the ages, right? So I wonder what you think about that. What advice would you give coaches if they're listening right now for this topic
I
that we've kind of stumbled on?
I think in the secondary school level, the high school level, again, I haven't worked with the younger kids, too much. I did a 2-day camp a couple weeks ago, and there were, the kids were 12 and 13s. I'm
Mhm.
like, "So how old does that make them?" Like,
Yeah,
because 'cause I'm not used to people saying, the birth years. I'm used to people telling me, like, the kids' ages.
that's
So
funny.
I
Come on,
think they
April,
were.
it's a hockey talk. Whenever
I
it's funny,
know.
my kids, when they go, like, say they're at a doctor's and they're checking in, I try to make them do their own thing. I mean,
I'm an '08.
especially my daughter, right? That's exactly what I'm a '05.
Yeah. So I
That's
had to say,
hockey
like,
talk.
"All right, how old are you guys?" So, I believe they were 11 and 12-year-olds, and it was interesting because I immediately saw the difference in them from my high school kids in that, they were like, what do you do? That's kinda cool." And then they come to me with just a little, "Oh, I just need a Band-Aid," or they just wanted to come see you and come see what whereas the older kids are like, "I don't know that I really wanna come see you," you know?
Because they know you
Um
might tell them that they can't play.
Right, right, right. But, going back, I think for coaches is get to know your kids, right?
Mhm.
Y You have your style of coaching, and that's your style of coaching. That's how you've gotten to whatever level you're at right now. So, you take your style of coaching, but get to know your kids and know that some kids are gonna need a little push, some kids are gonna need a little coddling, some kids are gonna need both. Um some kids respond really well to a coach that gets in their face and yells, and other kids need
Mhm.
more positive reinforcement. If you take the time to get to know your kids in what their needs are for athletically on the field for that sport, for them to respond to you, you'll find yourself knowing when the kid is on, when the kid is off, when the kid needs a little something. And if you can handle it, you handle it. If you're like, well, this is out of my wheelhouse, then you're able to bring in somebody else that can. If you're a coach and you know that this particular athlete I don't connect with as well as the assistant coach, well then let the assistant coach be the one that connects with that kid if there's something going on. I think being straight up and upfront, the season starts and say, "Hey, listen, we all have off days." Right? Me as an athletic trainer, I have my off days. You have days where, you're not feeling well 100% healthy, your kid misses the bus and you're late for first class because you got to go drop the kid off, and you come in and you're hurried, and they can see that from you, right? As coaches, we can see from kids when they're hurried, when they're worried, when um, their style is off for that day, and just letting them know that, hey, if I notice that your style's off that day, I'm going to check in, right? I'm going to check in. How you doing? It's okay to be open. It's okay to say, yeah, coach, a little off today, but I'm okay. I'm not ready to talk about it or whatnot. Don't push so hard that they start to put a wall between you.
Right.
allow
'Cause that
them
you have
to
to receive that, right? Like, you have to be okay with that. Like,
correct.
that's hard, especially if you have your own agenda, right? Like I said, I mean, right now I'm coaching the middle school age kids, but it's like so nothing's, like, on the line, right? You know, it's not
Right.
huge championships, but still, I mean, I'm a competitive athlete, so winning and losing, I like
I feel
winning.
you. Yep, I feel
But
you.
yeah, but, like so not only do we have to listen to it, but then we have to be able to respond to it and act on
And
that.
yeah, and you're listening to, like, actually listen to the kid. If the kid starts to open up to you, listen. Do they want feedback? Do they not want feedback? Do they just need somebody to listen so that they can be heard and kinda dump it and leave it on the sideline and then get in there? Or do they need somebody to listen to help them solve something, to help them work through something? And getting to know your athletes provides you that opportunity to know what they need. Sometimes you have to ask them, like, is this a conversation where you need me to listen so you can dump it? Or is this a conversation that you need me to listen, to hear, and to respond and help you through something? Um, for coaches to understand that mental health is huge. And it's those kids that you don't think are struggling that are the ones that are
Yeah.
struggling the most. The
So
kids that are the
important.
successful they're so successful in the classroom, they're so successful on the field, the ice, the court, the track, whatever it might be. Um, they appear as though they have a great friend circle. They appear as though they have um, home life is okay. All these things appear as though it's
Mhm.
great. The social media, it's smiling, it's I scored a
Yep.
goal, it's I got a best time. The social media is reflecting the good.
Mhm.
They're getting the likes, they're feeling, but those are usually the kids that are struggling the most. And the kids that are showing more, they're showing their frustration, they're showing their anxiety. Um, they're more vulnerable are the ones that are learning to get the skills to work through it. They're the ones that are coming to us that we're able to say, okay, here's another tool for your toolbox. So before the game, when you're feeling like you're going to throw up, this is what you need to do. Here's another tool. When you feel like you had a horrible shift, this is how you can dump it and leave it on the bench. So the next time you get on is you're ready to go. One of our coaches, I think it's called the 5-second rule. It's basically if you have a bad shift, you're allowed to sit for 5 seconds on the bench. And then after that 5 seconds, you leave it on the bench.
Yep.
You stand up and you pick one of your teammates and you focus on that teammate's shift. When they get back to the bench, hey, great job, whatever it is. Um, and you've dumped your bad shift so that the next
Yep.
shift you're good. So teaching them those life skills and also having them understand you're not going to be best friends with everybody that's on your team. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be places where you need to compromise. You may like one coach and not like your another coach. You have to understand that everybody is there for the same reason and it's a we versus me. There are days where me needs to happen. Don't get me wrong. Me needs to happen, but
Totally.
you have to do it within the framework of the we. And just providing these kids that opportunity to do that, to give them the skills. Um, if we can give those to them in the good times, if they get hurt, they then can put those skills to use. A kid that knows some imagery or knows how to be a leader, knows how to be a part of the team, is going to find a way to be a part of the team if they're out 9 months with an ACL, if they're out 6 weeks with a broken bone and a cast and they're not allowed. They will find ways of, hey coach, let me do the ball passing for you. It's a cast on my hand, but I can do that. Or let me set up the pucks for you, or let me run the clock. Just they find ways to be a part. And if we can give them those skills beforehand, when they need them, they have them instead of waiting for them to need them.
Awesome. So that makes complete sense to me. while we start wrapping things up, April, you mentioned something that really resonates with me in my practice, both in the past, I worked with moms a lot in the past in my in-person practice, but I also am bringing it into it. You said the whole athlete. So it's very interesting that I use whole body when I talk about healing in my practice. So maybe, again, I'm putting you on the spot, but maybe you can leave us with a few tips about what you feel is the whole athlete, something that I was just talking to a guest yesterday on she was talking about amino acids and all of these things, and I talk a lot about the internal stats, like what's
Right.
going on in the athlete's blood work, and it's super super fascinating stuff. I'm blown away. Like, I wish I knew all this stuff when I was playing high level sports in high school and college. It's wild stuff, right? But what I'm wondering is, what at your level, where you're at in the secondary school with the high level athletes that you see, not, it's fine if you wanna talk about the ones that are just trying a new sport, but the ones that are really, they're getting signed, they're getting tendered,
Right.
all of these athletes. When you're looking at those athletes, what do you think in your experience with everything you've seen in your, you know, medical experience, what do they need to be a whole athlete? Maybe we can give them some
So
tips or
it's
some thoughts here.
Yeah. So it's funny because I also teach a intro to sports medicine class,
That's
and a lot
right.
of times it's the seniors, it's the PGs that I'm teaching, and any kid that's taken my class will say that numerous times throughout the year I'll tell them that it's not necessarily about the actual material that I want you to learn and remember. Like, yes, there's certain things that you're going to learn and remember. That's great, but it's the skills. So trying to teach them communication skills, trying to teach them skills of how to advocate for themselves, how to be responsible and accountable for different things, and how to do that through their academics. How to learn to advocate when they have so much work on their plate and they have a late practice or they got home super late from a
Mhm.
game and they have to get up and go to class the next day, and they're looking at all their academic work and they're not quite sure, like, oh man, right? Well, how do you look at that and kind of triage it? How do you say this is the most important thing that needs to get done? And then, you know what? Maybe April's homework is all the way at the bottom. So how do I not just show up to class tomorrow and just say, April, I didn't do my homework, right? So it's learning to fashion that email to say, April, this is what's going on, and this is where I'm at, and I triaged my homework. Yours came at the bottom because is it okay if I and propose a solution, right? Propose that solution. So giving them tangible skills to be able to navigate their academics. And I know our other faculty members are great at doing that as well. Giving them tangible skills of communication so that they can communicate with teachers, coaches, parents, potential coaches, right, in the recruiting process, and understanding that when you're sending an email to a potential coach, you're not sending a text message to your best buddy where you're like, "Hey, bro, what's going on?"
Oh,
You,
that drives me crazy.
where you're gonna start your email with "Dear" or "Hello, coach. Thank you for your seeing me," or whatnot, and you're going to use full sentences and grammar and punctuation, and so utilizing the classroom. But also then when we're sitting and we have those elite athletes that um are injured or maybe not injured and just coming in for that regular maintenance, and just saying like, hey, good job recognizing that you have 3 games this week and that you need to come in and do some recovery work. um I saw you had some good food at the dining hall today. Way to do that. Or, um, could you drop that energy drink and go replace it with a Gatorade or a water or something that's a little bit healthier than the Monster Energy? So reinforcing their good choices is, I think, more effective than saying, "Hey, don't
Don't do
don't
that.
do
Yeah.
that." It's really hard because we grew up in a generation of no, don't do that. It's not. Within the past few years, I've been trying to work on reinforcing their good. You did a great job letting coach know. You did a great job doing this, right? Recognizing your body. Here's a chance for you to understand your body in a better way. Your legs are feeling heavy and tired and fatigued after a practice. Well, don't just shower, put your street clothes on and walk out the door. What do you need to do to help that recovery? Do you need to get in the Normatex? Do you need to do an ice bath? Do you need to roll out or stretch? Do you need to get on the bike and just gently kind of get stuff cooled down and stretch? Do you need something looked at? Is something just kind of nagging that maybe this is more than just a heavy leg or fatigued? So just making them understand that ignoring what their body is feeling is going to put them in a place where they're going to end up missing time because they ignored just simple routine
Yeah.
maintenance, which is hydration, nutrition. What time are you eating? When are you eating? What are you eating? Um, Making sure that you're getting sleep, balancing those open periods that you have during the day. Not every open period during the day means you're on the basketball court, you're getting open ice, you're in the weight room, you're doing this.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is, I'm going to go back to my room and take a 20-minute cat nap. I'm going to go back to my room and I'm going to stretch, or I'm going to go down the athletic training room and put my legs in the ice bath. Utilizing it for more than just your on field time. Not everything is on the field, and a lot of what you need to be successful on the field comes from your work off. In
Totally.
so many ways. So just reminding them that, hey, you guys, as high school athletes, we get it. I have no idea what it's like to be a high school athlete recruited into college during the social media days. I don't, right? Like
Exactly.
it was VHS tapes. It
Yeah.
was
Now you're dating us.
right? It was VHS tapes. It was, they called your
A
home
corded
phone.
phone from the
Yeah,
wall.
the corded bone from the wall. It was tell the older sibling to get off the internet because the internet took the phone line because you were expecting a phone call from a college coach. You know, so no, I can't pretend to understand the pressures that are added onto that. Now I can empathize with these kids and see what it's doing to them, and help provide them that, hey, take a break, take a step away. It's not about this, it's about this, right? Well, I'm worried about the captain, saying that's about me. Well, if they say it about you, we'll deal with it then, right? Or I'm worried about my teammates thinking this if I don't show up here. We'll have that conversation ahead of time. Talk to your teammates ahead of time and say, hey, listen, I'm struggling in this avenue and I'm going to do this to take care of it. So I'm going to miss you guys for the first 20 minutes of practice, but I'll be there. But I needed to go do something with athletic trainers, or I needed to do something with the counselors, or I needed to do something with the academic portion. The kids will be more receptive to that than where's Nicole? Why didn't Nicole show up to practice today? Why is Nicole a half hour late and coach isn't, and she's still starting? If they understand why the kid was 30 minutes late because that teammate is being more open and upfront and honest with them and the coach knows, then the kids aren't accusing the coach of playing a kid that showed up late, and you're not having all this misconstrued stuff because the kid has learned or is learning the skills to take care of themselves, to take them to the next level. Because the last thing you want to do is see a kid that was so successful in high school, academically, athletically, socially, get to college, be playing in college, be playing at a strong academic institution, and then just burn out and fizzle because they have kept so much inside, the pressures and everything, and then all of a sudden it goes boom, and their world has been just absolutely obliterated, and they don't have the skills to take care of it. physically, emotionally, socially, academically, wherever it
Oh,
might be.
yeah.
So being able to give them those skills so that they can recognize, I'm tanking in this area. This is who I need to go to. This is what I need to do. But you have to be proactive about it. Waiting for them to blow up in whatever way it is, to fail a class, to drop a couple grades, whatever it is, waiting for them to hit that spot or hit that I need a mental health leave because I'm not there. If we can recognize, prevent, and be more proactive, we don't have to react to the bad. They can handle the bad, and then we're sweeping up less. We're gluing back less pieces, because the cracks aren't fully falling apart. They're cracks, and the kids are mending those cracks as they go, and then they're able to keep going.
It's such a fine line, isn't it? It's such a fine line.
It's
And
a crazy fine line, and as an adult, I hate walking that fine line. So I
yeah.
can't imagine um, the the teenagers and the athletes, and I am thankful that not every move that I made as a teenager is stored on some computer somewhere. And the kids made a joke in class one day, and they're like, "Well, you have to have like bad pictures somewhere." I said, "You burn the negatives, kids.
Yeah.
Like somebody took a bad picture of you, or somebody took pictures at a party that you weren't supposed to be at. You either took the film out and you exposed the film before they could even get it done, or you burn the picture, you burn the negatives." And they looked at me, they go, "What are negatives?"
Yeah.
Like, okay, kids, not
Yeah.
everything is digitized. And us as adults, as coaches, as adults, learning that that one bad decision that we made as a kid that didn't mean anything because nobody really knew about it, the whole world might know about it for these kids now. And learning for us to learn to help them navigate that, of making a poor decision academically, that now athletics or your athletic career is now at risk, or you have to make a turn and change schools, or you have to tell your parents that, hey, listen, so I was so afraid that I couldn't get my work done or I couldn't study that I had to cheat. So now I have these zeros that brought my grade down. Whereas if we can teach that kid that, hey, listen, I would rather you walk in, put your name on the paper, try, and take the 25% that you're going to get than if you cheat. Because if you cheat and get caught, you're getting a zero.
It's
It's
done.
reported to
Yeah.
colleges, you're getting suspended. Like, those types of things will follow you. Whereas if you walk into my class and get a 25% on your test, that's not following you anywhere because it's one grade in a grade book of how many grades. So getting them to understand that in the academic realm, in the social realm, and in the athletic realm is of the utmost importance. That yes, their decisions can be scrutinized, their decisions are going to be recorded in some way, shape, or form, but you can come back from them. You can learn from failure. Um, Truly, it's the only way to learn. You got to fall down. You got to fall down to be successful. If you only get hundreds, you only score goals, you only have great press, you only have played on the best teams, you've never been challenged, you can't be successful because you don't know what it's like to lose. You don't know what it's like
There's
to
no
be on a
adversity.
team.
Yeah.
There's no adversity. You got to be on that team that goes 1-10 at some point in time, because that's when relationships, teammates, um, e- adversity, accountability, responsibility, grit, all of those things are challenged. And how do you respond to that challenge? If you can take a beating every game and still show up to every practice, wanting to play, wanting to learn, wanting to get better, and maintaining relationships, you're a good teammate. But if you're going to show up and be the one that's putting your teammates down, that's saying it's their fault, that's not taking
Mm.
accountability for your own, well, then you're not being a good teammate, right? So, um, learning to fall down and get back up. I would rather see a kid fall flat on their face and fail and watch them successfully get up and be a stronger, more confident individual than watch somebody never face any of that adversity, because you really know who somebody is when they fall down and they have to face adversity, whether it's a health issue, it's a physical, mental health, academic, disciplinary, whatever it is. If you can put yourself in a position that you can learn from failure, you have nothing but great things ahead of you because you know how to pick yourself up.
This is so great. Like as you're talking, I have goosebumps on a couple of things, um, and then if you know me, you know me. But if my listeners know me well, you can circle this right back to their internal stats to
Yep.
know if because you can handle things a little bit better if all of your systems, your organs, your tissues, if they're all working the way they're supposed to, then you have the right hormones released at the right times and all those good hormone, the serotonin, the
Yep.
norepinephrine, and all that stuff is happening at the right times. You can handle some of this better. But for the athlete that things are off, they're depleted, they have gaps in their nutrients, then they aren't actually physically able to do some of the things that we just talked about. So
Correct.
it lights me up, like my mind is blown with all
there's
of this
there's so
stuff.
there's so much to it, and it's not one person's responsibility, right? It, it's n-
Exactly,
it's
exactly.
it's not just coach's responsibility. It's not just the athletic trainers or mom and dad or whatever. It's a team, right? It's a team on the field. It's a team off the
Totally.
field, and it takes communication. It takes willingness. It takes vulnerability on our part as clinicians as well, to know when, okay, I've reached my limit with what I can do to help this kid maybe emotionally. It's time to bump them over to the counselors
Yeah,
and
I love that.
work with them. Or I'm not really liking what I'm kind of seeing body image wise, or
Huge, yeah.
eating wise or whatnot. I'm going to bump this over to the health center, because is the health center aware, like, do they know? Are they seeing that this kid maybe has not enough food on their plate each meal?
Exactly.
And then they can bring them in and they'll check those levels, right? They'll draw that blood work and make sure that a kid that we're seeing that's not necessarily taking in the nutrients we think an individual of that stature needs to be taking in, they're going to check and make sure,
So
right? And
important.
then if we need to address that because that individual, that athlete's having a struggle, then we address it, and we address it as a team. It's not an accusation. It's not a, you did something wrong. It's a, hey,
No.
we
Yeah.
love you. We want you to succeed, and we see that you're struggling. So we want to help you. And here's how we can help you. And you provide them that, here you go, and let them take what they need. Right.
Yeah.
Um, Myself and the other athletic trainer, some kids will gravitate to him, some kids will gravitate to me, some will come to both of us, right? Sometimes it doesn't matter which one of us is in there, and sometimes it's, where is he? Like, he's out on the field. Okay. When's he coming back in? Like, you sit in his chair and let me go get him and let me switch places.
Yeah.
And you switch places because you know in that moment that if that kid looks like that, they're looking for a specific individual, they're looking for a specific
They're
tool.
ready to open up, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so give them that tool, right? Give them that tool. If they're like coming in and they're going, I need to work on X, Y, or Z for this. Well, that's not my wheel horse, but let me take you down to the strength and conditioning coach, and let's let's
Yeah.
let them handle that, right? So it's a team effort on so many aspects. And athletics is no longer just putting a ball, a puck, track shoes, whatever it might be. It's no longer just what you do on. So much
No.
more is what is done off.
Yep.
And I love that more attention's being paid towards it. It's one of the reasons why I transitioned to get my doctorate, because I realized that my education is significantly lacking in certain areas because of just generational things. And I can go to a million different conferences, but this doctoral program provides me the opportunity that it's related specifically to athletic trainers. You have to be an athletic trainer to get this
Yeah. I
doctorate
love that. Yeah.
degree, and it's all clinical experience. It's
I love
taking
it.
your clinical experiences and delving in. And our kids, I've been in it a little over 3 years. Our kids were immediate recipients of the things that I was learning and being able to
Yeah.
expand upon and take. And
It's
my
like
husband joked,
instant. Yeah, you bring it right to it,
yeah,
right?
my husband jokes. He's like, "You're just gonna go to school till the day you die." I'm like, "Yeah, well,
I That's why I think that you and I are connected because I feel the same way, and that's what I did with this, foundational blood work, certification and training, and I'm not stopping because now I'm
no,
learning, like, oh my god, April, we'll have to talk again, we'll do this again
absolutely,
very soon because I think that every little things I'm, like, taking little notes, I'm learning some things not only, I know I think you watched my workshop about the blood work. Some of that is
yep,
like just, some simple stuff, but we are diving into, like, DNA and epigenetics, like, it is incredible stuff. Like, it's not it's like who you are, the epigenetics, like,
mhm,
you have been given a set of genes, right? And we have light switches that can turn certain ones on and off. So, like, let's work with the particular athlete that let's work with what you were given.
yep.
And then make sure that we don't allow some of the more negative things to come to the forefront. So it's just some really cool stuff. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like, you should look around my office right now, the books and the training, and then a lot of stuff is online now, which is easy
Yes,
accessible for busy moms.
it's
But
great. I mean, if you're not a lifelong learner, then I really don't
yeah.
think you can be a practicing clinician because things change. We learn
Oh my
more,
goodness.
research more. Kids change, right? Like
Yep.
the needs of the athletes are changing. And
Like,
if we're
oh
not
my
willing to change with
every
them,
day, almost every day. It is unbelievable. Like, as little as, like, as minor as they're we were just talking about it before in the green room, like, you know, the way they speak, the words, and I have to
yes,
look. I mean, my 13-year-old daughter, like, "What did you just say?" Like, what? So it's funny sometimes, and other times I'm like, I really do, like, because I coach this age group, I need to know, what's going on.
I
It's
need an
it's funny.
urban dictionary, please.
I know, right? And then some of it's like,
Yes.
I don't need to know. I'm like, I don't need to know. But it's
Yes,
funny,
I turn off my ears in the athletic training room almost
yeah,
daily,
I
at
I bet
times
you
because
do.
I'm like, "You guys remember we have ears, right? You guys remember we can hear what you're talking about,
I
so."
can't even imagine because on some of the family weekends where you let them come to the class, like, I've been in your class a couple times and they were it's funny, it's always all appropriate,
It's
but, I wonder what it's like when the parents aren't there.
they still keep it appropriate, it's just,
Ah,
um, who's
it's a
dating who,
different
and
world.
it's just a
Yeah,
different
different world,
world,
right?
and
Yeah.
it's like, I don't wanna know, like, just
Don't tell me. That's
don't tell
funny.
me, so, but I
Well,
love the fact that they feel so safe. Like, they feel
that's
so
it.
safe to
That's
come
it.
into our athletic training room, to open up to us, to kick
That
back and
should
be like,
be.
so just providing them that safe haven and an open door policy and just, "You need us, we're there," right? Like,
Yeah.
you call us by our first names because we want you to be comfortable. We want
Yeah.
you in there. We want you to know that if you're in trouble, where it doesn't matter what level trouble, right? We're here. We can help you.
Yep.
You have a success that you want to share. We're in here. Come share it, right? Like that's what we want. And I think we've achieved that over the years, and we hope to just continue to build on that and to continue to achieve that, and to, like I said, parents are trusting us with their most precious commodity. And myself and the other athletic trainer, we don't take that for granted. Like, we fully understand the role that we play in getting them to doctor's appointments and MRIs and doing their rehabs and making sure that we're watching out for their well-being on multiple aspects and communicating. Some parents are South America, Asia, like,
That's
that's
right.
really
Yeah.
hard when their child is injured and they don't fully know what's going on because they know their teenager's probably lying to them about what's truly happening. They're
Yeah.
relying on us to be um that parent to pull the kid back and say, "No, you cannot play today. This is why." Because at home, mom or dad might be that one that is the one to pull them back. Um,
Exactly.
so really just it's an honor. Like it honestly is an absolute honor to have the pleasure to have these kids. They become family. You when they graduate, you cry. It's
I
fully,
know.
you go down the senior walkway and some kids just make you bawl your eyes out because they have truly become a member of your family, a member of the community. They've just ingrained themselves in it and they are who we are. They are
I
who
may
we
have
are and
I may have seen a little of your tears on the last few days when we,
yeah,
celebrated our seniors.
yeah,
I think you
yours might have made me cry
Yeah,
in the senior
yeah, that
handshake.
ugh. I was crying watching that, like, from afar. But
Yeah,
I thank you so much, and I really would love to have you come on again because I
sounds great.
feel like there are so many topics that were, spinning around in my head when you were talking that I think that we could pull out and talk for a while just on specific, topics. So I'll um I'll let you go now because I know you want to get back to your family. I really appreciate it. I think this was really good. And I hope that the listeners here, if they're listening and if they have a child that's either in the secondary boarding school process or wanting to get there, because I do know a lot of athletes that want to get to that process or that point, um, they can pull a few nuggets out and or reach out to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um,
Open book.
any yeah, do you have any last, second advice, while we close up here?
To the athletes, be you. Be you. Don't be
Love it.
somebody that you're not. Be you, ask for help, and, um, whether you fail or you succeed, you are learning, you're moving forward, and progression is not linear. Sometimes you gotta take a few steps back in order to take those leaps forward. So, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to, be imperfect.
Absolutely love it. I have nothing further to say because that was incredible. So until next time on the Elite Athlete Podcast, I will see you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Elite Athlete Podcast. I'm Dr. Nicole Tatro, and I hope you found today's episode inspiring and empowering. If you're ready to take your performance to the next level, don't miss out on my free instant access 3-day workshop series. Elevate your game and dominate your sport. In this workshop, you'll discover natural recovery secrets, blood work insights, and the truth about supplements to help you achieve peak performance. Sign up for instant access today and start your journey to becoming the elite athlete you're destined to be. Visit the link in the show notes and join now. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and share it with fellow athletes, parents, coaches, and agents. Your support helps us spread the word and elevate the game for many more athletes just like you. Remember, you have the power to achieve greatness. Let's do this together. Until next time, keep pushing your limits and stay unstoppable.